The salty breeze brushed gently across the faces of the excited tourists gathered on the dock of Spruce Harbor, their laughter mingling with the cries of gulls overhead. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. The boat sat steady on calm waters, waiting like a silent promise of adventure. It was meant to be a peaceful whale-watching trip, just a relaxing journey into the blue, where they could witness nature's giants gliding through the ocean. But none of them, absolutely none, could have anticipated the astonishing turn the day was about to take. They were a mixed bunch. A young couple holding hands tightly, still glowing from their honeymoon, a group of college students cracking jokes as they snapped selfies, an elderly couple, quiet but eager finally crossing off a lifelong dream, a solitary writer, standing apart, scribbling into a notebook, and a young family with a curious 8-year-old boy named Danny. All of them strangers, unknowingly connected by the strange fate awaiting them out at sea. Captain Blay, the grizzled but kind-hearted seaman, oversaw preparations with a watchful eye. With decades of experience etched into his sun-worn face, he offered a reassuring presence. "You're in luck," he announced as the last passenger climbed aboard. "Last week was foggy, barely a fin in sight. But today, the whales will dance." And so the boat pushed off. It sliced through the glittering aquamarine water with practiced grace, carrying its passengers toward an experience they thought would be extraordinary but not historic. Not long into their journey, the first whale was spotted. A dark shadow beneath the waves at first, it breached suddenly, its enormous body arching high into the air before crashing back down with a mighty splash that soaked the railings. Gasps filled the air. Phones and cameras flew up. For a moment, everyone forgot the world they had left behind. They were suspended in awe. The captain slowed the boat, keeping a respectful distance while giving everyone a perfect view of the creature in its natural realm. Laughter and wonder rippled through the group. Children squealed. The honeymoon couple embraced, whispering something that faded into the ocean breeze. But then, something changed. Another whale appeared. This one moved differently, more purposefully. It was a massive female, noticeably larger and more confident than the others. She glided alongside the boat, then dove under it. Some shrieked in delight. Others clutched the rail, nervous. But when she surfaced again, her massive head rose from the water just feet away from the boat. And then she opened her mouth. There was a moment of stunned silence. No one knew what to think. Then the screaming began not out of fear of being swallowed whole, but because of what they saw inside. It was not just baleen and the deep pink flesh of a whale's mouth. Something metallic glinted inside something man-made. Click, flash, click, flash. The cameras captured it again and again, a shining, golden object hanging from the edge of the whale's lower jaw, clearly too heavy to be swallowed. It didn't look like debris or trash. It looked important. The passengers erupted into chaotic chatter. Was it part of a shipwreck? Some kind of ancient artifact? Captain Blay's smile faded. His instincts told him this wasn't normal. Whales didn't do this, not without reason. He ordered the boat to turn back. But just before they did, young Danny, driven by innocent curiosity, did something no one saw coming. While the adults were distracted, he leaned far over the edge and reached out. His small fingers wrapped around the gleaming object, and he pulled. The whale didn't resist. It simply blinked, lowered its head back into the sea, and vanished. When they docked back at Spruce Harbor, people were still buzzing about the mysterious object. It looked like some kind of trinket ornate, golden, and covered in symbols. Danny held it up for all to see, the sunlight bouncing off its surface. It was beautiful, and no one had a clue what it meant. Captain Blay, now deeply intrigued, asked to hold it. His weathered fingers traced the carvings. Something about it tugged at his memory. He had seen markings like this before. That night, he sat in his small harbor office and scoured the internet. Hours passed. Coffee went cold. But then, a match. A historian had published an article years earlier describing a pirate treasure lost at sea. The image in the article was almost identical to the object Danny had retrieved. Captain Blay's heart pounded. Could this really be part of that treasure? He called the number listed in the article. The woman who answered Dr. Agnes Walters was a respected expert in pirate lore. After hearing the story, she insisted on seeing the item herself. Days later, she confirmed it. The trinket was genuine. A piece of a legendary hoard is believed to have vanished centuries ago during a violent storm that sank a pirate ship. But how it ended up in the mouth of a whale was a mystery even she couldn't explain. What happened next would change everything for the town, for history, and especially for one unsuspecting boy and a weathered old captain. With the artifact confirmed as genuine, Captain Blay and Dr. Walters quickly became a team bound by fascination, curiosity, and the weight of a mystery that defied logic. How could an ancient pirate treasure end up in the mouth of a living whale? It was a question that kept them both awake at night. They pored over old maps, historical accounts, and naval records. The story of the pirate ship that had vanished centuries ago was well known in maritime legend. According to records, it had been carrying an enormous fortune jewels, gold, and ancient relics looted from Spanish galleons. But during a storm, the ship disappeared near the very waters Captain Blay sailed every day. The possibility was too compelling to ignore. What if the whale had encountered the wreck? What if part of the treasure had somehow become entangled in its mouth? Motivated by this theory, Captain Blay assembled a crew. Not just any crew, but a hand-picked team of experts. There was Laura, a marine archaeologist who specialized in shipwrecks. Raj and Kevin, two former military divers with years of salvage experience. And Mia, a sonar specialist turned treasure hunter. They set sail under clear skies, returning to the site where the whale had appeared. Armed with scanning equipment and underwater drones, they scoured the seafloor. For hours, they found nothing but coral, sand, and scattered rocks. But just as they were about to call off the search, the sonar pinged back an anomaly. The divers suited up and dropped into the ocean. The water was cold and deep, but their adrenaline kept them warm. As they descended into the blue gloom, a massive shape emerged through the murky water, a shipwreck. It was exactly where the legend had placed it. Barnacle-covered, broken in places, but unmistakably an old wooden vessel. Its timbers were blackened with age. Its mast was snapped in half. But there, half buried in the silt, was a massive chest. The divers worked quickly, attaching pulleys and cables to lift it without damaging it. Inch by inch, the chest rose to the surface. When it finally crested the water and landed on the boat's deck, everyone stared in stunned silence. It looked like something out of a pirate novel ornate, iron-banded, with seaweed tangled around its base. Captain Blay hesitated only a moment before flipping the latch. The chest creaked open. Inside, glimmering in the sunlight, lay piles of gold coins, gemstones, and bejeweled artifacts, crowns, goblets, intricate golden daggers, a ruby the size of a child's fist. No one spoke. It was too much to process. The fortune they had unearthed was more than historic, it was breathtaking. They returned to shore triumphant but humbled. News spread quickly. Reporters flooded Spruce Harbor. Experts arrived to examine the find. The story made headlines across the globe. But Captain Blay and his crew made a decision that stunned everyone. They donated the entire treasure to the National Maritime Museum. In exchange, they asked only that the find be preserved, studied, and that the museum make a sizable donation to protect Spruce Harbor's marine ecosystem. And they did. A wing of the museum was dedicated to the whale treasure, featuring Danny's trinket and a lifelike replica of the chest. Visitors from around the world came to see it, to hear the tale, and to wonder how a whale helped solve a centuries-old mystery. As for Danny, he never forgot the day he reached out his hand into the unknown and pulled back history.